Well, for a deeper look at the technology of black boxes, we are joined by aviation security analyst Mike Boyd in Denver. Mike, thanks so much for joining us. Jim set it up nicely for us there. Is this all about cost and the airlines don't want to pay it?
I think it's more what will happen, how effective will one approach be compared to another. I don't think it's about not wanting to spend the money. It's wanting to spend the money on something that makes sense 5 years from now when technology changes. So it's there's 25,000 jet airliners flying around the skies every day. That's a lot of airplanes, old, new, whatever. So the solution is not as easy as it might look to the mere mortals.
Yeah, what are the challenges? Jim touched on a couple of them. Is technology, given also that planes fly all over the world, a big challenge here?
It absolutely is. I mean, there's other issues like the cockpit voice recorder. In some countries like Canada, that's never made public. In the US it is, in other countries it is. So it's one of those things we got to look at things across borders as well as just differences of airplane types and where they go. Remember, this is a machine, it's a box. And if that box goes into water, it's going to sink. That's something I don't think we can fix.
And also, you've got companies that don't like talking to each other about technology having to talk about this, don't you? Big rivals like Boeing and Airbus, I presume, have to agree on a standard, and pretty quickly now, 2021, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think on this level, Boeing, Airbus, Bombardier, Mitsubishi, Embraer, they're all talking with each other to find a solution. They don't look at each other as competitors, but collaborators at this point in time. But it's not an easy thing to find a box. It's not an easy thing. You can't stream. That's going to be data all over the place. So we have to find something that's probably going to end up in the middle by 2021.
And some of the airlines I know are pushing back on that date line. It's going to obviously be expensive to deploy. And also pilot unions, I understand, don't like the idea of necessarily all their conversations in the cockpit being recorded.
No, that's their place of work. They have every right to say they don't want their place of work to be recorded for the world to see. That's why it's, like I said, in some cases, Canada, that'll never be made public, even in the event of a crash. But the thing is, I think if you work in a cockpit, I think it's on a need-to-know basis only, because that's where you're spending most of your time.
Yeah, I suppose it could be used for disciplinary reasons as well in the future. This is perhaps a sensitive question, but airline crashes are pretty rare. Even though there's a lot of grief for obviously families waiting for news of their loved ones. Is this an expensive thing to do, given that casualties in aircraft accidents are very low?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, let's face it, it's the safest way to move people and goods is by air today, across the world on average. So the issue here is, what do you do to make sure you can pick up when there's an Egypt air crash? But then why do you want to put a lot of burden on the public in terms of cost when this only happens very rarely?
Mike Boyd, thank you so much for joining this fascinating discussion about the future of the black box. Thanks again.
If you like what you just saw, follow us on social media and visit our website, CCTV-America.com.